Welcome to Discovery Watch with John Kaiser.
I'm your host, Jim Goddard. Welcome back to the show, John.
Hi, Jim.
South Korea's POSCO Daewoo waited until one day before the deadline to announce that it would put up another $7 million to earn a 35% interest in Serengeti's Kwanika project. What took so long, and what Serengeti still has to get done this year?
Well, that's a good question. Why does it take POSCO Daewoo so long to make a decision that was so obvious last year when they drilled the hole and stopped it in mineralization and then published the updated preliminary economic assessment earlier this year? The $1.2 million or so they spent, that earned them 5%. The next step was to put up $7 million into the joint venture for further work, which will earn them a 35% interest. It took them 2 years in the midst of a horrible bear market to actually finalize this deal, and now they have used up most of the season just thinking about whether or not to make this decision. Talk about fence sitting. And they still can't get any work started until probably late September because they have another 60 days to create the formal joint venture entity and funnel the money in. And, ironically, the market was starting to hope that the South Koreans would not continue with the option because the market has changed significantly from when the original deal was pursued in several years ago in 2015. We have copper bumping at $3, wanting to break out. Gold survived its downward challenge to $1,200 and is now about $1,270. So the company would be able to fund 95% of the work fairly easily. Now, what will they get done this year? The hope is that they deepen that hole, which ended in mineralization that they drilled last year, 900 meters. David Moore would like to do a 1,300-meter hole, which would push the deepest vertical depth to about 1,200 meters. The deepest this project has been drilled in the past is with a 900-meter vertical hole. So since this is a block caving operation anyways, finding more rich ore at depth can only be a big plus for this project. They will likely have to wrap up by early December with any drill program, so it's not going to be a huge program this year. Where we will have to hope for some joy is Serengeti, along with its 43.7% partner, Fiordland Exploration, is going to mount a 3-hole, 2,500-meter program on an IP chargeability anomaly at what they call the Milligan West project. This is west of the Mount Milligan copper gold mine, which is now owned by Centerra after it took over Thompson Creek. It's estimated at about 50-meter depth. So this could be a new discovery, which of course is going to be of interest to Centerra as additional mill feed for the Mount Milligan mine. So not a lot to expect for Kwanika itself unless they do deepen that hole rather than start with metallurgical and geotectonic drilling, all the sort of stuff that goes into a feasibility study. But definitely keep an eye on the Milligan West target.
John, San Marco announced that drilling at its Chunibbus project in Mexico delivered different than expected results. Should we be paying attention?
Bob Willis was quite excited about the results from the 3 holes that they reported. They had gone into this project with the idea of trying to find some higher grade structures within a lower grade footprint. Past work was all done with RC drilling. They had a pretty good gold silver anomaly in the soils and so on. But when they started drilling with a core, they immediately realized that the geological context was something very different from what they expected. They observed brecciated rock, and all 3 holes delivered interesting gold intersections, not the kind of barn burner results that you sends the market soaring, but it has Bob thinking we are dealing with an intrusion-related gold system of substantial proportions. So they are going to go back in there. There's 3 more holes that they have drilled. All 3 holes were pretty widely spaced apart on the property. They were just testing different areas. So you have another batch of results coming. But this will become the basis for a much more expanded program to see if indeed there is a bulk tonnage system hosted by this brecciated rock in this on the Chunibbus project.
We'll have more Discovery Watch with John Kaiser right after the break.
I'm Bill McWilliam, president of Cascadero Copper, CCD on the TSX Venture Exchange. Cesium is one of the world's rarest metals with a growing industrial demand. Drilling is underway on our Tehran property in Argentina to prove up a cesium resource. Cascadero's patent-pending leach process has the potential to make Cascadero the lowest cost supplier of cesium in the world. Visit our website, cascadero.com, or phone us at 604-924-5504.
GEM International is a new diamond explorer in the richest diamond-producing country in Africa, located next to the 4th largest producing diamond mine in the world. International Spotlight is on an 1109-carat diamond recently discovered in Africa by a fellow Canadian junior with a proven operator and finance team. GEM International trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol GI. Visit us at gemdiamondmining.com.
Welcome back to Discovery Watch. John, GT Gold gapped up on July 25th with heavy volume, and now it's trading over $1. Do we have a discovery?
Indeed, Jim, we do have a significant gold-silver epithermal discovery in the Golden Triangle of British Columbia. The company has already announced a $5.75 million financing at 85 cents. No warrants, expected to close in the 3rd week of August. I introduced GT Gold on April 28th as a Discovery Watch Junior based on its Tatoga project, which is about 30 kilometers northwest of the billion-ton Red Chris copper gold mine operated by Imperial Metals. It's in an area that has seen exploration by juniors and majors since the 60s, and but nothing really substantial was ever found because this particular area, it's quite high. It was covered by glaciers, and with the glaciers retreating, prospectors came across an area that looked very interesting. There's a substantial gold-silver geochem anomaly. The private company was vended into a CPC shell last year, has some heavy hitters, ex-Glencore people in there as major shareholders. And the company designed a program where they went in there, drilled 28 RC holes, all fairly shallow holes, 25, 50 meters max, and they basically used it as a prospecting tool. They had an XRF unit to read the presence of pathfinder elements such as arsenic, copper, zinc, and silver. You can't read gold with an XRF unit, but insofar as you're dealing with something like a low sulfidation epithermal system, when you get all the other metals usually associated with such a system, you can have a pretty good idea, yes, this is the mineralized structure. And half the holes came up empty, but the other half came up with very good intersections. We've got from like 1/3 of an ounce gold to up to an ounce gold over good intervals of 3 to 15 meters. It's along a 200-meter strike so far. They have gone in there and started drilling diamond core holes, because with the core holes you can start understanding a structure. This is a steeply dipping vein, brecciated vein system. And the diagrams that they published with their news release indicate that they've intersected mineralization as deep as 150 meters down depth. So this is a significant high-grade gold-silver discovery, and it's definitely going to cause a stir, and the stock is now $1.15 this morning, and I expect they believe they can drill until probably sort of mid-October. This is a part of British Columbia that gets an awful lot of snow, gets very cold, so you can't drill through winter. So now they are hell-bent to step out a long strike and down dip to map out as much as possible of this new gold-silver discovery.
Does the Saddle discovery have any implications for other companies in the area?
Well, two of the worst pump and dump ambulance chaser juniors have already put out announcements saying we have moose pasture somewhere in the vicinity of the GT Gold's Saddle discovery. These are the same nasty little juniors which acquired similar land packages last February when Osisko's Windfall project with its 400,000 meter program started making waves. So for these companies, however, there are really no positive implications. The Golden Triangle has such a rich metal endowment already, deposits like Brucejack, SK Creek, Galore Creek, Shaft Creek, that a new discovery like this is not an eye-opener for the potential of a region. The one company that does stand to benefit is Colorado Resources, which owns the Kinaskin project to the west of the Tatoga project. They also happen to own the North Rock copper gold porphyry project on the east side of Tatoga Lake and also north of the Imperial's Red Chris mine. But strategically, the CEO Adam Travis in February picked up the castle claims which sit inside the Kinaskin property and are to the west of this new Saddle discovery. He picked this up from Kaiser Discovery for 1 million units in February, and the stock in the past week has run up to about 32 cents. They have started a $4 million program on their KSP project, which is much farther south, where they have now earned a 51% interest from Seabridge. Originally the deal was with Snip Gold, but Seabridge took over Snip Gold, and they are now, this next $4 million expenditure will take them to 80%. So the focus for the company is to demonstrate that there is a bulk tonnage gold system on KSP. They already have evidence for that. What they do not yet have there is the, a coherent high-grade zone. The hope is that this year they will luck into a zone of higher-grade mineralization that they can follow and demonstrate as a core to this system. But as Adam Travis says, this is the type of system that is made into a mine. It will ultimately require a $30 million program of detailed drilling to put together a bulk tonnage system, and they hope to get lucky with a higher grade zone this summer. But the market, I suspect, is now wondering if this east-west regional structural trend with which the Saddle discovery is associated, about 100 kilometers to the north in the where the Kinaskin is, maybe this projects to the west, and so Colorado is the company that would most likely benefit from the Saddle discovery turning into substantially more than a 1 to 2 million ounce high-grade gold discovery.
Charlie, Greg is also involved with SK Mining's SIB Lulu project, Silver Standard, that started drilling in late June. Any news on that front?
Charlie Gregg has two hot plays underway right now. The first, of course, was the GT Gold, where he is the VP of Exploration, and he has his hands full running the program. But he is also the geologist for SK Mining Corp, which optioned 60% of the SIB Lulu project to Silver Standard, where Carl Edmonds is the chief geologist in charge of this program. They started drilling in late June. They are drilling 200-meter step-outs from the SIB Lulu zone. And just as a reminder, the Lulu zone was discovered in 1990-91, and it looks very similar to the SK Creek deposit, a high-grade gold-silver system with zinc and copper credits. But when they drilled deeper, they never found anything more, and it turned out that a thrust fault called the Coulter Creek thrust fault basically detached the Lulu zone from the stratigraphy to which it was part of, which is the same SK Creek style stratigraphy. So what I've heard is they've drilled 5 holes. They have overcome whatever technical challenges. They are 900-meter plus holes, drilled at fairly shallow angles, basically to track the angle of the thrust fault, and they're hoping to intersect the tilted stratigraphy that hosts the SK Creek mudstone mineralization. No word yet on whether they have hit anything, but they are now on hole 5 or 6, and they plan to continue drilling until winter chases out of them and come back next year. And their goal is to come up with the smoke telling them the target horizon is present, and then we can start vectoring in. Considerably more expensive proposition than what GT Gold had to do with the saddle zone, where they started with low-cost RC rigs and shallow holes, but similar concept, trying to probe undercover a major system that we hopefully also turns out to be a significant SK Creek 2 discovery later this year.
We'll have closing comments from John Kaiser when Discovery Watch returns.
Lotus Ventures Inc. is a BC-based medical marijuana company poised to launch into the rapidly evolving cannabis sector. Lotus is in the final review stage of the Health Canada approvals to become a licensed producer, having arranged facility financing of up to $12 million, plus building permits for its prototype indoor production facility. Shares trade under the symbol J on the Canadian Securities Exchange. Visit our website at lotusventures.ca.
I'm Brian Fowler, president of Blind Creek Resources Limited, listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, ticker symbol BCK. Blind Creek is focused in the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and British Columbia. The company's key property is the Blend Project, one of the largest undeveloped lead-zinc-silver deposits in Western Canada, plus plans to advance the recently acquired, fully permitted historic engineered gold mine in the Atlan District of Northwestern BC. Check us out at blindcreekresources.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with John Kaiser. Novo Resources Corporation hit a new high last week. Is there anything new?
The stock exchange asked the company to explain why its stock was up, and of course the company said, well, there are no material developments. And there are no material developments, but what is happening is people are starting to understand the potential big picture implications of the Comet Well project in the Karatha area of northwestern Australia. Right now, the story's being spun as, is this just a local freak show where we have these interesting nuggets embedded in bedrock, and maybe they'll have a few million ounces here, and maybe it'll end up being a sort of a low 1 to 2 gram per ton open pitable scenario? Or are we talking about WITS 2.0? In other words, we have a laterally extensive, very high-grade mineralized system comparable to the WITS Watersrand reefs in South Africa. And the stock at hit 289 or so at that price. It was on the 50% ground that was sporting a $600-700 million valuation. By all rational measures, the story is way ahead of itself, but the market is warming up to the idea that this really is the discovery of the century. And right now, several groups are heading out to Australia to take a look. Greg Gibson joined the board of Novo Resources a week and a half ago. He is Eric Sprott's representative. It turns out that Eric Sprott personally is the largest shareholder in Novo Resources. He has about 9.8 million shares and identical number of warrants between sort of 60 and 90 cents. If he exercises those, he goes into first place ahead of Newmont, who's still a substantial shareholder. Quinton Hennig is now in Australia. He's tying up loose ends, apparently also trying to acquire additional ground. I made the Novo story a key part of my presentation at the Sprott conference last week in Vancouver. We had politely receptive audience. Nobody is yet believing it, but the buzz is starting to generate, because if this indeed is a WITS 2.0 story, not only will it enable Novo Resources to hit double-digit stock prices, but it also becomes an inspiration to the entire sector that when you put out-of-the-box thinking to work, especially for undercover type targets, there is joy to be had if it is coherently thought out. So we've got our fingers crossed. I'm heading out to to Australia on August 9th to also take a look at this for myself, try and get a better understanding of what all these gold nuggets, both in the soil itself and in the bedrock, is all about. And people like Greg Gibson are heading out. Brent Cook is heading out. Brent Cook is a classic skeptic, and Rick Rule himself on BNN apparently was asked about Novo, and he said, well, Eric Sprott, my partner, is a substantial shareholder. I myself prefer to buy at a higher price when there is more technical data supporting. So we're entering this sort of window where people who want to believe this is for real are buying the stock, and the hardcore, where we're probably 2 to 4 months away from having enough information on the table so that people can say this is for real, such as when the Voisey's Bay discovery, the initial dike intersections, you couldn't really tell whether this was ever going to amount to anything, but when they pushed that hole right into the heart of the ovoid anomaly and came back with 100 meters of 4% nickel and 3% copper in the context of a magmatic segregation type of a setting, the market knew this thing is for real. We are not yet at that crossover point. The shorts are starting to descend on the stock. However, they have to be careful because it's going to take a bit of time to kill off this story. And if it starts gaining technical support in terms of some of these bulk samples coming out of these trenches, that's going to light a fire underneath the stock, and we could have an extraordinary year finishing 2017 and setting the stage for a very big bull market in the resource juniors in 2018.
John, thanks for the update.
You're welcome, Jim.
We've been talking with John Kaiser, his website, kaiserresearch.com. Discovery Watch will be back soon. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on Discovery Watch are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at HowStreet.com. Discovery Watch is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.